The meeting of the Finance Committee for October 21st, 2025 is hereby called to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman at Large Keith Larson.
Here.
Alderman Dan Barrero.
Here.
Alderman Edward J. Bug.
Here.
Vice Chair Carl Franco.
Here.
And Chairman Masiacos is present.
Okay. Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to provide public comment?
No, we do not.
Okay. Well then, if there are no speakers, clerk, could you please read the first item on the agenda?
Item 25-0843, approval of a budget transfer from the City of Aurora Alderman.
Okay. Well, this is a carryover from last week, even though we have Ms. Cynthia Alvarez here. Everybody was given an opportunity to discuss this item in the interim from last week until this week. I hope that happened. Anybody's questions are clarified. One of the main differences now is Alderman Mike Seville from the 6th Ward also put in a requisition, and I took mine out in order to make sure that we get this thing passed. Make sure we have an additional vote. No secret on that. So with that said, do we have a motion to move forward with this?
I have a question.
First and foremost, we have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Motion approved by Alderman Larson. Do we have a second? Second?
I have a question too.
I will second the motion. So we have a motion to move forward for approval. So with that said, you have a question, Alderman Carl Franco.
So I'm looking at the budget transfers, and it doesn't say the reasons. So can we verbally tell us the reasons for each one?
Yes, they, you can refresh your iPad, but
Oh.
all of the 3 budget transfers being requested today are specifically for the Paramount.
Okay, Alderman Barrero.
Just trying to find the right agenda, that's all.
Okay. Now that we have clarity,
Point of order.
yes.
I withdraw my second.
Well, the second is mine.
Oh, you seconded?
I seconded it.
Okay.
Because you have to abstain, if I'm correct. Okay. Well, with no further questions,
So I
we're
guess
going to
my
make,
my
yeah,
question
what is
is,
your question now?
it's just a confusion between the RAP agenda, the RAP committee agenda, and the budget committee agenda, because the finance committee agenda does not have, at least I didn't see the 25-0843. That's my question. I'm trying to. Am I confused here?
Are you looking at Thursdays? Okay, well,
1021.
it should be on there, Alderman Barrow.
Okay, thank you. There's.
Okay, so with that said, would you please call the roll?
Alderman at Large Keith Larson.
Yes.
Alderman Dan Barrero.
Yes.
Alderman Edward Bug.
Abstain.
Vice Chair Carl Franco.
Yes.
Chairman Masiacos.
Yes.
4 yes, 0 no, 1 abstain.
Well, thank you very much. Now that we're past this trivial situation, I would like to move forward with the budget for 2026 in a discussion. I was planning on talking a little bit about this last week, but we're going to talk about it a little bit today. So with all said and done, we will have an opportunity to ask questions and have some level of discussion with staff members. Anticipate everybody comes with their written questions for this meeting. At least 2 to 3 questions for each alderman. So maybe we could also have an opportunity for any alderman who's not on this committee to also ask questions as well, and all within the time frame of 1 or 2 hours, depending on what the schedule has allotted. So that's very important, and if anybody is unable to get all their questions answered, we will have an opportunity, everybody has an opportunity to reach out to staff and ultimately go back to Committee of the Whole. So unless we have to carry it over because not everybody had sufficient amount of time from staff to present and or us to answer our questions. So with that said, looking forward to this one, for the record, the mayor's office has reached out to all the aldermen and has started as of yesterday, and if not by today, given the majority of the aldermen opportunity to sit down with the mayor and his team to discuss this budget as well. And get a bit more clarity on how we came to the point of having a theoretical balanced budget predicated on tax raise and also with a $20 million deficit as of the end of 2025. So with that said, this is not going to be an easy budget to get through perhaps, but there will be a lot of questions, but like I said, we're going to have to be very careful of how many questions we all ask because of the time frame. So, overview, who will be giving, actually, do you care to read the next item for formalities, clerk?
Item 25-0803, information only, overview discussion of the 2026 budget.
All right, and who will be providing that overview here? All right. Welcome, Ms.
Good
Peterson.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Stacy Peterson, Chief Financial Officer, City Treasurer. Today, we're briefly going to be discussing the 2026 budget. First off, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody that has put time and effort into this budget. This process is a collaboration with all departments within the city, and it takes a great deal of time to put this together. We basically started this process at the end of April, and it takes about 8 months to complete. We are presenting a fiscally responsible budget, and we have some hard decisions that need to be made. I'll briefly go over what we are going to then talk about as well. So today's agenda, we will be going over the 2025 draft agenda, or draft budget at a very high level. We will hit upon some of the major highlights, which represents the overall city budget, briefly discuss the tax levy, discuss the 2026 priorities, discuss a high-level overview of the general fund, and also taking into consideration contributing factors to the budget. Significant changes that will take place in 2026, 2026 capital projects, and 2026 decision packages. Over the next few weeks, individual departments will be presenting to the Finance Committee their individual budgets. And today we will actually have, after my overview, we will have the Finance Department, Human Resources, City Clerk, and Law Department. The 2026 budget has $596.1 million in expenditures, and this is before carryovers. And the revenue portion is $525.8 million before carryovers. In looking at the budget comparison between 2026 and 2025, the expenditures are actually a 21.5% decrease from the 2025 budget, which is primarily due to capital projects. Also, please note that there will be about roughly $70.3 million budgeted revenues from other sources from prior 2025 and prior years that will take it into effect with this actual budget. A lot of times that's timing differences, and it relates to bond proceeds that we have received in prior years that we will spend in 2026. I'll briefly take a moment to discuss the tax levy for public safety pensions this year. We're looking at an increase to the property tax levy of $4,239,399, which is a 4.89% increase to the overall tax levy. The levy for the police pension will be $23 million, and the fire levy will be $16.5 million. Both levies for pension costs are set by statutory limits. The state governs how the pensions are to be administered and funded based on actuarial assumptions. The city's pensions are funded by two sources of revenue. One is property taxes, and the other is personal property replacement tax. This graph just kind of shows a historical trend of the public safety pensions starting around 2011. We had like 14 to 15 million in contributions over time, and it steadily increased. And then in 2022, you can see an actual dip in the levy history. This is due to an increase in personal property replacement tax. In actuality, the state misallocated the personal property replacement tax and income tax, and over the past few years, the Illinois Department of Revenue has corrected that and reallocated the PPRT properly. The overall contribution for both of these pensions is $39.4 million. The next portion I'll briefly talk about is our debt service. The debt service for the next year will increase by $6.9 million, bringing the tax levy to $12,691,800. The debt service covers all of the bonds that we have issued. Some of the major projects that will be funded with the debt service is the Farnsworth-Bilter project, the River's Edge project, the public safety building, the 3 fire stations that are under construction. This slide actually shows a good representation of the overall city levy, the EAV, and the city's property tax rate. You can tell by this slide that the orange at the bottom is the city's overall tax levy. The gray is the police pension. Yellow is fire. Blue is IMRF. And green is the debt portion of the levy. Historically, the debt service has been steady at $4 million, and in 2024, it went up to $4.75 million, and then in 2026, the levy will be $12.7 million. In the lower left-hand corner of the screen, you will note that the sales tax, or the city's property tax rate will increase slightly, and that is due to the increase in the debt service. The non-debt portion of the rate is actually going down slightly as well. You can also see that the equalized assessed valuation is on the lower right-hand side of the screen. It has steadily increased, and we are estimating that the 2025 equalized assessed valuation will be about $6.4 billion for the city of Aurora. Now I'll briefly just go over our general fund revenues. The general fund revenues are composed of primarily 9 different major sources, and that's about 92% of the general fund revenue. Some of the key ones are obviously our property taxes, state sales tax, the home rule sales tax, food, beverage, and liquor taxes, the utility taxes, income taxes, personal property replacement, building permits, and fire services. The 2026 priorities. The main priorities for this administration is to be fiscal stewards and accountable. The city plans to replenish the property and casualty fund, fund the employee health insurance fund, prioritize projects that will deliver real lasting value to residents, restore commitment to funding capital projects. Another major priority is focusing on housing and community investment. The city is also is committed to rehabilitating existing housing stock and repurposing vacant properties and lots. The city will focus on public safety and infrastructure. The city will be opening and renovating the 3 fire stations, support the Aurora Police Department through equipment modernization, expanding investments in infrastructure, maintenance by repairing roads, upgrading water and sewer systems, and completing lead service line replacements. Another major priority is sustainability, which will be accomplished through expanding clean energy adoption, green building practices, and workforce training aligned with the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act Workforce Hub. Also, in addition to that, is climate resilience, which is infrastructure projects that protect our water, air, and land resources. Some of the key factors that need to be considered when we're balancing the general fund. Over the last several years, the general fund deficit has been closed or eliminated by not fully funding several of the internal service funds. Those were primarily employee compensation benefits, employee health insurance, retiree health insurance fund, property and casualty, and then also capital projects improvement fund, which was funded through home rule sales tax. This year, the city plans to replenish these items to bring the reserves back in line. This schedule is kind of showing what the historical trends were for balancing in the past. The items that are on the screen actually represent dollars that were not funded. And you can see the actual overall adjustment from those funds to contribute back to the general fund. So for 2026, the funding for capital and internal service funds are as follows. Funding for capital will be funded by home rule sales tax at $9.4 million. The employee compensation benefit fund will be funded at $3.3 million. Employee health insurance fund, $19.4 million. Workers' compensation portion of the fund will be $3.8 million, and the property and casualty will be at $5.4 million. Retiree health insurance will be funded at $2.3 million. This graph represents the general fund expenditures by department. You can see here that our funds, or our departments that make up about 75% of our overall general fund expenditures, represented by fire, police, public works, and public facilities. And you can note too here, this is an actual difference between the 2025 expenditures and the 2026 expenditures. One thing you'll have to take into consideration is that during the budget, we did move some of the divisions into different areas of the budget. And you can see the first, well, right underneath non-departmental, the executive section of the budget document has the mayor's office, city clerk, alderman, human resources, sustainability, and boards and commissions. You'll also note that community affairs was eliminated as well. And this is just another depiction of the financial changes that we made, comparing them from level 1 to level 2 budget. So during the process, we had departments review their budget and then provide additional cuts to the budget to get to where level 3 is today. And these are some of the significant changes that we made. Again, Community Affairs Department was eliminated. Public Facilities was moved to Public Works. The Clerk and Sustainability were moved to the Executive Department area. Established the first time ever sustainability positions. We also reduced staffing, about 53 interns, seasonals, and cadets. 69 full-time and part-time positions, a total of 139 position reductions, and 70 of those were vacant. We also went through some of the IT software and have reduced some of those costs as well in the 2026 budget. This is just a recap of the capital improvements over the next 10 years. Some of the major projects for 2026 is our typical standard neighborhood street improvements, which is funded by a variety of sources. It's community block grant funds and municipal motor fuel tax, and this will approximately resurface about 35 lane miles. Another item that we will be working on too for the capital is the New York Street Bridge. That project is funded by a combination of federal funds and city funds, and the overall project will cost about $17.6 million. The Tivoli deck shows significant wear and tear, and major repairs and maintenance will need to be done on that as well. This will be a 3-year project, and we have allocated $750,000 per year to accomplish that. The addition, we will also be doing the Church Road water tank. This tank holds about 1.5 million gallons of water. It's located at 2680 Church Road. Rehabilitation of the tank will cost approximately $2.9 million. Another major capital project is the Mastodon Lake, which is located in Phillips Park. With major support from the state, we will dredge the lake and restore its shorelines, and it'll cost about $5.4 million. And then finally, another project that we'll be working on is the Garfield Park. Between 2026 and 2027, we plan to refresh the park, making it a more parking, better parking access, refreshing the landscaping, and overall modernizing the park. This will be a cost of $2.4 million, with $600,000 coming from a state grant. This is just a brief summary of a recap of the totals of the decision packages that we have in the budget for 2026, actually categorized by the funding source. A few of the major projects that we have in the decision packages is the Church Road Tower demolition, a temporary emergency shelters, a pump and control panel replacement for the golf course, and the APD community room refresh. Our overall next steps will be that we will have department presentations starting today and continuing through November 18th. We will bring the budget for final approval to Finance Committee for recommendation on November 20th, forwarding it to the Committee of the Whole on December 2nd, and having the public hearing and City Council meeting on December 9th, and then the consideration of the tax levy will be on December 16th. At this point, I can open it up to any questions before I go into the finance portion.
You could also have a seat too. You don't have to stand the whole time, the whole idea too. And you could still have that control in your hands as well. So I don't want you to feel like you need to stand the entire time as well, first and foremost. I personally, after our meeting too, I really appreciated the fact that you have gone through and removed an approximate, was it 57 million in carryovers from prior years. Help clear up exactly what we're doing and not doing as well with some of our projects here at the city. Because that was a question I had last year for Phillips Park, and that had carryovers on top of carryovers that seemed to me were unfunded projects into the future in terms of solid cash to support those programs that were put in the budget. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues here in this room on this dais, and I will start with our newest member, Alderman Keith Larson. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So this is my first time going through this up here. But from the presentation a few slides back, where you were showing starting in '26 and years after that, the capital improvement project amounts. So it looks like 2026, we're looking at 107 million, and then it goes down to 79, about 79 million in 2027. So there's a decrease in capital improvements that we'll be seeing in the budget next year. One thing that I was looking through in a lot of the departments here is there are some big increases in like employee benefits across the board. And those are increases that I expect we can, we're going to be seeing again next year. So a lot of that looks like it was offset by lowering the like non-salary expenses. And there's only so much that you can cut there. So to be able to keep staff is the lower expenses for the capital improvement plans. Is that going to give us extra buffer to keep staff on board next year so we don't have to do a lot more cuts?
I can answer that. Shannon Cameron, Chief of Staff. So one of the reasons why you see a decrease is due to some of the bigger projects that we know of now. For example, the New York Street Bridge that was mentioned, and Galena, both going from one-way to two-way. However, there will be other probably capital projects that we are unaware of that will pop up throughout this as well. And every year it needs to be reimagined. Right now this is a projection. Certainly, we always have to balance all of those things, and we wanted to do a really good job this year and doing our best effort so we're not in the same place next year. I don't think we'll be nearly even close to that next year. However, you're right with depending on CBAs and just general, we've seen, luckily our healthcare costs did not raise nearly as much as other places have. We were very lucky on that. Other people are seeing 20 to 30% healthcare cost increases. So we hope that we will keep it lower, but every year I think it's a bit of a balance. Is there other things you want to add between especially 26 and 27 on that forecast of why it goes from 107 to 79?
Oh, there we go, sorry. First time using this thing. So basically, this is just a summary of all the categories. The actual detail is also in the capital tab as well, which describes the projects. And it is sometimes a lot of timing in terms with the actual projects, working with engineering, making sure that they have the engineering costs set up for some of them.
And there's also possibility of carryover, so if we don't get to all of these things, there is, or portions of it are able to happen in 26, but some might need to finish up in 27. There is that possibility that would be carried over as well into the next year, depending on, we might get the engineering done, but not the actual, shovels in the ground.
Mm-hmm. And those funds aren't all directly comparable because some can only be used for specific purposes like grants, so yeah, I just want to make sure that, with staffing reductions, that's, lowering the yearly costs. But, I just want to make sure we're not going to be in a situation where we're going to be having to do more cuts next year, at least at this scale. So hopefully we can get on a better track now.
Okay.
That's all I have for
All
now.
right.
Thank
you. Alderman Danbureau.
Thank you, Chairman Masiacos. I have a couple questions. Can we get a copy of the slide deck? So it kind of helps us trying to write all this down, and it's nicer to have the slide deck. Nice job on it, by the way.
And just to confirm, these will be all available in Insight 44, right, Stacy? Yeah, so they'll be in there under the budget tab, under finance. You'll see 2026 budget presentations, and you can access them there too.
Thank you. Mike, I have two questions. One is the projected fund balance for the general fund. Can we get an update of that to get a better understanding? We keep hearing different numbers that we're gonna end up with a deficit. And yesterday, I thought I heard during our budget meetings with the mayor's office that there might be a surplus that we could use for, plugging holes. So I would like to get an update on that projection for the fund balance for the general fund for 2025. And then my other question is with Garfield Park, it was listed as a 2-year project, and just wanted to get clarity on that. I thought there was a mention of trying to seek another grant on top of the one we already got. So I just wanted to get clarification of whether that 2.4 million is counting on the second OSLAT grant, or is just an assumption it's just that we just have one OSLAT grant, because if we do get the second one, does that then increase it to 3 million? That's what I'd like to get some clarity on. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Franco.
I got a couple of questions. Stacy, when you talked about replenishing funds, and I'll just use the property and casualty insurance funds, replenishing those, how are we determining what amount we're replenishing them for? Is this a state mandate? Is it a best practice? Is it what other towns do? How do we come up with a certain number to replenish those different funds? And I just use those two for example.
So basically what we end up doing is we review our initial potential liabilities that we may have from any sort of claims that would come through there. We assess it, and then we try to maintain a minimum balance within those funds, because they are internal service funds. We are able to go between them based on the levels and targets that we actually have. It's more of a best practice on our side. There, in terms of what we look for the actual target fund balance for every year, because we want to make sure that we're funding it properly, because you don't want to have a liability come through that we have to pay, and then it completely wipes out the fund, and then we're stuck looking at trying to figure out how we're going to pay for those potential claims, which could result in sacrificing other funds to pay for those.
So we use historical data to determine what the potential is for that fund to be needed or used. And we're using the historical data to say, okay, because of what we've seen over the last 5, 10, whatever amount of years, this is what we feel comfortable with putting in there based on that. Am I summarizing that right?
Yes, and then also taking because as claims and liabilities come in, you have an estimate of what they could potentially be. So we work with our provider to get us what our reserves should also be as well.
Okay. And then the other question I have is, when we went over the capital priorities, and they had like 5 or 6 things on there, is the Sound Bear and Orchard Road not a capital priority? Or is that just a mistake?
It is. It's in the
Okay.
budget.
All right, I just didn't see that, and I didn't know if that was like all our priorities or just.
I just
Okay, so that's
picked
just a
up
couple. That's
of
just a
them.
couple. Okay,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, because, I know we had talked about getting that done in 2026, and I just want to make sure that's part of the program going forward. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Peters said if we don't have the money in the claims, we probably have to draw from where to pay for any claim if we don't replenish these accounts. Would it be safe to say that we'd have to go and ask a line of credit from one of our local banks?
Well, I would prefer not to use a line of credit. We would look at other funding sources in terms of if we had to look at the general fund does provide funding for these particular funds. If we needed to potentially look at reallocating, like a home rule sales tax. And then we would have to look at even potential capital improvements, delaying projects, canceling projects, even canceling decision packages. It's making sure that we're able to pay for those claims
All right.
if and when
all
they
right.
come to fruition.
Because you have been on the record too, that you're trying to evade having to do anything like that into the future.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much for that, for the additional update. Last but not least, on this committee, Alderman Edbug.
Thank you. I'm going to save most of my questions for the individual presentations and just talk about new information that I heard today. Other than the fact that just generally, of course, we're all anxiously waiting to hear from each department. Each department has to be a part of this cooperation of putting our house in order. And like I said, not only we will be learning about our status of our city finances, but of course our residents are asking questions, and we're all looking to get down to the brass tacks on where we're at and where we're going to be going. But the only new thing that I heard had to do with the police community room, which you mentioned. I'm almost certain that that was budgeted a few years ago. Did that not happen a few years ago? Or are we doing an additional remodeling of the community room? That was new to me.
I believe it is actually just updating the tech specs in that room, the AV, the things like that. It's not like a full remodel, but there is some wiring. There is, because their equipment continues to fail on them when they do have big trainings and meetings in there.
Okay. Or even that portion, the AV portion, I thought we considered that and passed that either last year or the year before. Did that just not move forward when we did that?
We did not do any sort of project this year in 2025. I can
No,
look back.
2020, I'm talking past.
Yeah, I can look back and see if there was a decision package that maybe they just decided not to go forward with or had to cut, but I'll look into it.
Okay, yeah. I'm almost certain we considered that already and passed that, and I mean, not that I visit the community room that often, but I thought that was done. So when you said we're going to do that, I was just a little confused. All right. That's it. I'll leave the rest of my questions for the individual departments.
Well, thank you, one and all. We only have about 20 minutes for every other department that's here today. We have 4 departments: finance, clerk, human resources, and law. Definitely want to get them squeezed in, because I think Alderman Bug is not going to be very happy with a delay in his start of the RAP committee here in short order as well this afternoon. So with that said, finance, again, Ms. Peterson, if you can sit down and go and speak from there too as well. You can start the presentation. If you can give us a 3 to 5, I don't know if 3 to 5 minutes enough for you?
Oh, yeah, I can.
All right, fantastic. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Basically, we're going to go over the Finance Department's 2026 proposed budget. Our budget actually begins on page 517 of the document, or it's 557 of the PDF. We consist of primarily 6 divisions: the finance administration, accounting, budgeting, revenue and collections, purchasing, and water billing. Our budget is $7,521,555. This is over 3 different funds, so I've kind of broken it out here for you. It's the general fund is about 4.8 million, water and sewer is 2.2 million, and that's basically all of water billing. And then motor vehicle parking system is about 600,000. Overall, our budget decreased in 2026 by 3.72% over the 2025 original budget, and that's with all of the funds. If you're just looking at our general fund budget, it decreased by about like $225,000. What we actually documented, and throughout the document itself, you will see the part-time account clerk, one business compliance officer, which is shared 50% with the clerk's office, and removed one administrative aide in purchasing. That brings our department to 47 full-time people and 1 part-time individual. Our main functions that we budget for every year is actuarial and accounting services, banking service fees, and credit card processing fees, collection agency fees, and various annual software charges. Some of our major initiatives for 2026, we are going to review and update current financial policies. We hope to receive the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement of Excellence for financial reporting, and receive the GFOA Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. We are looking to restructure the Deferred Compensation Committee and review the plan to do a consolidation of the 457 deferred comps, create fillable forms and documents, and convert those to English and Spanish, and that's primarily in the purchasing department. Integrate a new parking management system to manage our parking downtown, and then promote customer self-service by improving information on the website, and that is primarily in the water billing department. Some of our accomplishments that we have done this year is we have received the GFOA awards for both the financial reporting and the budget presentation. We implemented an e-procurement system, and in 2025 we fully implemented a route planning software to improve work order processing for field workers, and that is in water billing. And with that, if you have any questions for the finance
Okay,
division.
well, thank you very
Department.
much. With that said, Alderman Dan Barrero, would you care to start this round?
Okay. Thank you for the summary. I have 2 questions. One is the motor vehicle parking system fund. Is that fund balanced, or is it being subsidized? And then my second question is, what is the impact to these budget reductions to the finance department operations, and the impact to the public?
For motor vehicle, it gets a portion of its revenue from the home rule sales tax allocation. And in terms of your question in regards to the impact of the decrements, I feel that we will be able to work through next year without an issue. I mean, obviously, it's time management as well.
Point of clarification too, 8 years ago, do you have more people or less people on staff than there were 8 years ago on this, in this department?
We do have a few more.
All right, so it worked well 8 years ago with the amount of people, so time management would make sense based on your reply. So I just wanted to make sure that I understood as well what time management went. Okay, Alderman Keith Larson.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess in line with the operations of the finance department, are there any purchases or decision packages that were pushed off that we're going to need to be accounting for in the future?
Currently, we did not have any decision packages for 2026. I mean, again, we always reassess and look at what we can do to improve our processes, and we would bring that through the normal budget process.
Okay. That's all I have for now.
Alderman Franco.
I don't have any questions.
No questions. All right. Alderman Ed Bug.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. I'm usually always going to start with the org chart. So page 517. So the two boxes that are not filled in, are we not going to fill those positions? Are those the ones? I know you had some movement up. Of course, you moved up, right? So just tell us about those. And for our future departments, I'm going to ask on the org chart on every department. So, yeah, so talk about treasury, talk about budget and the org chart and how that works.
Okay, so first off, the treasury is not really a department. It's a function that is under Linda Reed. And accounting, so primarily Linda's role is to oversee accounting, treasury, and payroll. Now, payroll is not its own division, it's in accounting. So really, in a sense, treasury, you could say, it's not necessarily vacant, it's just Linda would be responsible for that. And then for the budgeting portion, when we did that reorganization several years ago, the primary function of the Director of Financial Operations is the budgeting office.
Okay. All right. And I thought that was the case. I'm part of that. It doesn't make sense to put Ms. Hinkey's name there twice. But just so we know, and not only us right here on this Finance Committee, all 12 aldermen know kind of how your office works, and if we have questions, to get it to the right person. So my individual question, can you tell me on page 522, and I just don't know what this is, what is the investment custodial services? The numbers go up and down every year. Right now, we're budgeted at 36. We're back up at 41 before. What is that?
We have city investments, and every month we get a custodial, they hold the investments for us, and then we get billed based on the dollar amount that they're holding. So it depends on the actual investments that we have on a monthly basis.
Okay, so it's a percentage?
Mhm.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And thus, that's the reason it's moving that much. Okay. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, we have a little time. No other questions then? Well, Alderman Burrow, you have another question?
I have some questions from the first part. Can I
Oh,
go
sure.
back to that?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, so one is the gaming tax revenue assumptions for 2026 was very minimal. I think there was a $200,000 bump, but we know the casino is going to be open mid-year 2026, and so we'll see about 6 months of that. So I was wondering if you're going to provide an updated revenue projections for the casino coming online. And secondly, I had mentioned this before, but it'd be nice to get a 2-year budget projection because I think in 2027, we're going to see a whole different picture with the data centers and the casino being in operations for a full year. And then also, it'd be great to see a cash flow picture with the drawdown of our fund balances. What does that drawdown? What does that cash flow picture look like for the general fund? As you had mentioned, if we have a large claim or something that we might have to put a project on hold because of the cash flow. So it would be nice to see that cash flow picture for the general fund, if you could do that. Thanks.
Okay. All right. With that said, maybe we have a few extra, about 8-9 minutes for the other departments here. So if we have the clerk's office can come. Who's presenting today from the clerk? Okay, we have the clerk herself, it seems like.
I have a question real quick. Are we not going through the accounting division? Because I had questions for
Oh,
these
okay.
various divisions that we have to
Oh,
go
you said you had no
through.
questions.
Well, we just went through part of it. We have other divisions in there that I have questions for, so and she didn't go over them, so I'll ask my questions now. Let's assume they gave the presentation already.
Okay.
All right, page 524. Administrative aid, we went from 4 to 0. Payroll specialist, we went from 0 to 4. What is that seems like they're intertwined. What's going on with that there?
That was just a reclassification of their title.
Is that a bump in salary?
No.
Okay. 536. We are losing a compliance officer, I believe, in this one. Business compliance officer. So I guess my question is on that. If we lose that compliance officer and we have outstanding debts that we're not collecting, are we gonna be able to collect those debts without that person doing the job to find that money? Because I think this past year, that person found $60,000 to $70,000 that were unclaimed. So how are we gonna manage that going forward? Because we don't wanna leave money out there, so I just wanna figure out who's gonna be in charge of collecting that money, the compliance part of the taxes and stuff like that.
That's a shared responsibility between revenue collections and the clerk. So we will review procedures and assess the best way to achieve that task.
Okay, so we feel that without that compliance officer, we'll still be able to collect the revenues that are outstanding based on the combination of people in the clerk's office? Is that what we're saying?
And revenue collections.
Okay. And then I go to page, I think it's 533. Sorry, sorry, 559. Our salary and benefits went down, but yet our total number of people stayed the same. Does that sound right?
No, purchasing was reduced by 1 admin aide.
I'm sorry.
Purchasing was reduced by 1 administrative aide. Oh, this one.
I'm on 559, I'm sorry.
559.
So we had 12 people in 2025, we got 12 people in 2026. I saw that the salary and benefits went down, so I was just wondering how that may have occurred. I'm not against it, I'm just trying to figure out
Yeah,
how
this
that
is
could
based
happen.
on the promotion of Krista into the Director of Financial Operations and then promoting Christina into the Water Billing Manager position.
So, all right, so shouldn't the salaries have gone up maybe, or did they go down because of that?
No, based on where Krista was at in this grade and step table,
So when we
Christina's
transferred them
lower.
out, there was that difference, is that what you're saying? The difference between the two?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out, why with the set number of people going down, typically we don't have a reduction in pay, we have, an increase in pay, how did that happen? So, okay, that just clarifies. I didn't know how that worked between the two of them. All right, thank you, I have no more questions.
Okay, well, we still have a little extra time, not as much, so the clerk will come up and provide introduction. You can have a seat as well, if you wish. It's up to you, but we have a seat there. So stand the whole time.
Jennifer Stallings, City Clerk, and Mr. Jacobs is kindly handing out a paper copy of my PowerPoint presentation to all of you in case it is way too small for you to read on the screen.
Real quick, you don't have your own section personally either, so clerk is moving. It's in the budget, but you're moving.
Moving to the mayor's office?
Right. Right, just for the record.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so if anybody's looking for it, it's under executive, it's under the executive section.
Okay. Looks like we are ready to,
We're waiting for you.
thank you, Chairman. Okay, we're going to start with what's the top in everyone's mind. So in 2025, our approved budget was $997,440. In the published proposed budget for 2026 that you have in front of you, I believe, in your binders, our proposed budget is $876,584. Since the budget was published, we have reviewed the budget, and it actually has reduced down to $845,157. And that comes up to approximately 15.2% reduction. So some of the accomplishments in our office, I think our biggest accomplishment, I just have to say, is having a very good, productive, cohesive staff. The next is we successfully implemented our online liquor license renewal process. We have about 200 licensees, a little more, I believe, who renewed this year. It did simplify the process for us, and several more of us were able to work on the process and be a little more efficient because everything was online. Just as a general overview, with the licenses and the permits that our office issues, we issued about 312 so far this year. For FOIA, our Freedom of Information Act section, it's not really a division, it's a section. We assist the police department in the processing of FOIA. So by saying that 6,003 FOIA requests have been processed this year, that's not all the clerk's office, but we generally account for about 1/3 of the total of the entire city. We do have Sarah Walsh is our staff attorney. She helps the police department when they need help. She reviews various types of FOIA responses prior to them going out to the requesters. We also have a FOIA specialist. He was previously assigned to the police department full-time until our remodeling was done and we had space for him. So he and Sarah Walsh are in their own separate section, the FOIA section, in our office here in City Hall. I think probably our biggest accomplishment outside of the liquor licenses online is that we have 2 staff members in our office have been working very diligently, Socorro and Dana, on putting our ordinances and resolutions online for the public. We, as you will see on the next slide, we are asking to carry over what was allotted for our archive project from last year for the professional digitization services. We were not able to complete that this year, but it ends up being a good thing because ultimately I think that we are going to keep working on what we have in our office and we won't require as much professional service because we're doing the same thing they're doing. What we will require is when we get to things, documents such as what is in the photo, very old documents that require some level of expertise. So as far as our large decrement items for the city clerk's office, we do share the business compliance officer. Our business compliance officer is primarily assigned to work with the liquor licensees through my office. So that is half of his total compensation is $47,033, plus a few of the things that go along with it, clothing and phone. We also have we had last year budgeted a part-time FOIA confidential secretary. As you can see, our FOIA section is very busy. We're not able to fill that this year because the space was not available for that person until August, I believe. And so by August, everybody was kind of looking at backing off of new people. And then we did reduce the citywide dues by $26,000. And this is just a photo of all of the people who are in our office. And if you have any questions, happy to answer.
My only question right now, if I may start real quick, is your staff attorney.
Yes.
Why is it pertinent to keep them in your office and not in the law department?
So the staff attorney, Sarah Welsh, she has been our FOIA officer now for, I believe, 5 years.
Mhm.
So she is not only reviewing and assisting and providing legal advice to the police department regarding their requests, she also does the same here for citywide requests. Her only function, and it keeps her very busy, is working on FOIAs.
Okay, all right. All right, well, now we'll start with Alderman Franco.
I just have the one question, but I go back to what I asked about the compliance officer before, business compliance officer. Do you feel that losing that position will be a detriment or effective for us? Because do we feel we'll still be able to go after those that owe us money in a timely way to actually collect all the revenue we can? I mean, I hate to lose somebody who's going to be a benefit. If you pay somebody $90,000 and they find $200,000 in unpaid compliance problems, that's not a trade-off we want to make. So I just want to get your opinion on that.
So if I may take the liberty to rephrase your question a bit.
Sure.
The clerk's office doesn't, his function in the clerk's office has never historically been to collect. That portion of his job was through revenue collections.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's intended in the future that our office takes over some of the revenue collecting. I'm not sure about that. But as far as how Dave's, how he functions in our office for our percentage of Dave, he is able to go to all of the liquor licensed businesses and make sure that they are in compliance. I think to answer your question, he works very closely with the business owners, and he does field a lot of the simpler questions and a lot of the hard questions as well. I think we will not be doing those things. We just don't. He goes out. We don't have the staff to do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Danbura.
Yes, I have a couple of questions, but not for you, it's for Stacy, but it's related to you. If you could provide some information regarding we're going to be discussing the addition of going from 5 to 6 gaming machines per establishment, and what that additional revenue might be to the city. And also if we could get a summary of some of these fees that are collected by the clerk. For example, how much is a pool table? Is there a fee for pool table license, I imagine?
So the clerk's office doesn't do pool tables.
No, don't do that?
We don't.
Does that through the state then?
The revenue and collections.
Revenue collections?
Handles
Oh,
those. Yeah,
wrong
so-
department. Okay,
yeah,
then
we're kinda
Stacy can
split.
handle it then.
Yeah, Stacy can handle it.
So that's my question. What are they paying, just out of curiosity? And then my last thing is a comment. I know we've been trying to use technology to put more and more things on the website and make it available to the public. And so the thought there was to try to decrease the number of FOIA requests.
Mhm.
You know, the frequently asked questions, people are always looking for this and that, but as we provide more and more information, our hope is that we'll have less FOIAs. Has that had any impact at all, or is it still a growing thing?
Well, I think it's still growing because of the addition of the body-worn cameras and the requests that come in for not only body-worn cameras, but the squad cameras. So obviously, we can't put those online. With the addition of working towards putting all of the ordinances and resolutions online, saves a little bit, and people are able to do some of their own research at home or call us and we can guide them. Otherwise, as far as FOIAs are concerned, I think we're a little bit out from where we can come up with a system for getting FOIA requests online. Some of them, yes, and I know that finance puts a lot of things out there, which is very helpful. And our FOIA officer, Darren Gangler, he does direct people frequently to online. So it does save time there, but I don't really have data to give you on that.
Alderman Keith Larson.
Thank you. Yeah, the question that I had on the difference between the proposed budget and the adjusted budget, looks like it's a bit over 30,000. Where did that come out of? It looks like the FOIA part-time confidential secretary is close to that.
Yep.
Is that what it was?
That's correct.
Okay.
That was something that we noticed that had been left in that was intended to be removed.
Okay.
Because obviously, we hadn't hired that person yet.
Mhm. And that was later on in the process. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Bug.
I don't have anything for the clerk.
Well, seems like nobody else has any other questions for you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm sure, like I said earlier, you would make yourself available, help answer these questions that are being placed and may be placed to you by other members of the city council down the road as well, besides the committee. So with that said, next group up is human resources. You also may have a seat if you wish. You don't have to stand. It's up to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michelle Clark, Interim Chief Human Resource Officer. Oh, thank you. So what we're starting out with today is just a budget summary from where we were in 25 to where we are in 26, and you'll see that equates to about a 24% reduction in cost. It was about $866,000 in savings after we went through the exercise that Stacy mentioned earlier. This next slide just shows you some of the major places where we eliminated or reduced. The biggest one was the paid interns. We're moving to a completely unpaid internship program. We removed a part-time secretary, and then we're not going to leverage any temporary employees in our group. We also significantly reduced our tuition aid reimbursement program, our training budget, and then any staff development. We have folks who have some certifications, and in the past we have sent them to conferences to complete those certifications. So we've reduced that amount, as well as the work that we were doing around an employee recognition program. These are the highlights from 2025. I think the department did an awesome job. I won't read all of these, but some of the major things are the 7 contracts that the group successfully negotiated. We offered, on the training side, 14 new courses. We had about 1,200 staff attend those courses. We had the UKG Pro implementation. The number of grievances that we had, when you look at the numbers from 24 to 25, have gone down significantly. And then there's been a lot of work partnering with APD on their recruitment activities as they try to work and continue to work on increasing diversity within the police department. Here are the stats for the department, so our hires, terminations, promotions. Again, I won't go through this. We will make sure you have a copy, but the numbers in red represent 2024, and the black is 2025. So you can see the department was quite busy. And then finally, here are our goals for 2026. So continue to work through the UKG implementation by implementing the performance management and coaching modules, the leave management system. We want to make sure that we're working on a wellness program. That's going to be increasingly important, as well as all the work we want to do around employee engagement. We're going into some tough times, and so we want to make sure that we're a department that is supporting our fellow staff members as we go through all of the transition. So that's my presentation. Do you have any questions for me and the team?
Yes.
Awesome.
I'd like to start off on this one. Who, if anyone, do we have that is responsible for risk management?
Oh, great question. So we don't have a risk management person identified. Brian Caputo has taken that on, and we are working to identify ways in which we can repurpose some of our staff to assist in that effort around safety and risk management. So
Okay.
right now, there's not currently someone assigned that role within the department.
Okay, and do we feel that that's going to be addressed in your department, or are we just going to continue that with Dr. Caputo?
I think
for
that's
this
going to be
coming year?
a conversation between us and Dr. Caputo, who is
Okay.
headed this way.
Michelle is not aware of this. This is
Oh.
this is kind of she's new, and I am relatively new as well. I am the risk manager for the city. It's part of my job description, and basically what I'm doing is working. There are pieces of risk management in multiple places of the city, HR being one of them, and law being the other. So I'm kind of the conduit for all of
Okay.
that. The renewals,
Okay.
reviewing claims experience, all that.
Okay, because when we, 8 years ago, it was our understanding that the chief management officer was also going to continue doing risk management, even though he was no longer part of directly being paid out of the human resource fund.
Right.
So, so therefore, part of his salary too was taken out of HR as well, help pay his salary. So he was paid out of 2 accounts.
Yeah. I obviously we don't have the chief management officer position anymore. Those duties have kind of been distributed. Some of them Shannon has, some of them I have. So, but the risk management function is covered.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
With that, Alderman Burrow.
Yes, I have a whole bunch of questions. No, just kidding. So we get these emails for training very frequently from the training staff over there, and so there's a lot of interesting topics. And but sometimes you know it's like I've seen some of them recycle. So my question is there a minimum number of people that need to take these? You know, and I see that the number of participants is 1,228. That's a lot. But I'm just curious if there's some, you know, for some reason something's not getting a lot of traction. Do you guys just, you know, don't offer it anymore? Or are these required or mandatory type of trainings where people have to take these? You know.
So it's a combination of both. We have some required training that people are required to take, but we also have courses that we put out there based on the needs of the organization. And LaDonna and Kelvin do a great job of evaluating those. And if it's not meeting the needs of the organization, they will either pivot to beef up the offering to make sure it meets their needs, or they will discontinue.
Mm-hmm. And then my other question is, and this is something that's come up, you know, time after time, and that is the difficulty in recruiting staffing for our call center 911, and you know the ability to retain the staff there. And so I was just curious on what does HR do to help recruit individuals for that?
For that, I'm gonna pivot and ask Tiara to come up and talk about that.
That seems to be the one position in the city that's hard to fill, and so I'd just like to get a quick update on that.
Hello, Tiara Salazar, Recruitment and Retention Coordinator. So for telecom, it has been, as you mentioned, harder to fill. The process has been lengthy. We've been working with the police department to find ways to kind of cut down the time frame for the hiring process. We are currently accepting the application window just closed. We are accepting test scores up until October 31st. But we do have a really good amount of candidates that we're moving forward right now. So we have 6 candidates currently in the background process. We have 10 other people who are in the early stages of the polygraph. So we're kind of doing like an eligibility list where should we lose people in the process, we'll kind of already have that pipeline to keep moving those candidates forward. So I feel like we have a better chance this time around to get more candidates in. As far as once they get started in the retention portion of it, the training's really hard. It's 9 months, and a lot of times it's just due to stress or just the nature of the job itself, where candidates can't make it through the training portion of it. But we are working really hard to try to get that filled because they've been pretty short for quite some time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Franco.
When you talked about the cuts in training and development, is that going to hamper how good our HR department is, or certifications that they actually need to do their job?
No, we have a very talented staff, dedicated staff. And so there is some money in the development budget. It will limit our ability to send people to, say, a conference that may enhance what they're doing right now. But for those folks who are working toward a SHRM certification, we have a little bit of money in there to help them keep up their certification.
All right, so we're talking enhancements opposed to doing the core business. I mean, I get that. I just want to make sure that they can actually do the job because we're training them properly. As long as we can, that's
Yep.
better. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
That's all I had.
All right. Alderman Bug.
Thank you. First, an easy question. So we just went from the title Workers' Comp and Leave Specialist to Workers' Comp Specialist. Is that person still going to function and do the leave specialist work? Is someone else going to do the leave specialist work? Please talk. That's page 281.
I'm looking at it right now. So, yes, so we have someone who is doing both those roles under the workers' comp specialist role. So we've absorbed that into one role.
Okay. All right. And then same page 281. You spoke about a little bit. We were no longer going to have paid interns, but unpaid. So please elaborate greatly. That's something very important to me. I wear a couple hats with that. I'm the liaison for the Aurora Education Commission.
Yep.
So I will take back this information to them also.
Yeah, so in a lot of cases, a person's degree program will allow them to have either an experience for credit versus an experience where they're being paid. And so because of the budget situation, we've opted to offer an unpaid internship opportunity for those students who may need the experience for credit. And, you know, of course, everybody wants to be paid, so I don't want to say they don't need to be paid, but that's the alternative.
Okay.
So.
All right. And in the future, like I said, definitely like to look at that overview and how that's going to change.
Yeah,
Even if it's scaled back some, and we just have some shadowing opportunities for the college students, even the high school seniors, that would be excellent in meeting with our needs, budgetary needs, but still giving those opportunities.
Yeah, that was a tough one for us because we know the value of providing those opportunities for students. We get a lot out of them being here as well as them getting the experience. I think this year we did a drastic cut because we were in such dire needs. But the team does have some ideas for how they can structure unpaid internships so that they are still valuable to folks and that we're offering them and they're meaningful. And the minute that we're able to bring on interns, we probably won't bring them back at the same rate right away, but the minute we have money to do so, we will start to bring them back.
Okay. Thank you. And yeah, like I said, it's very important, not only hopefully potentially to keep some of those graduates, AU or somewhere else, keep them here in the city, keep them maybe employed by the city, but in the
100%.
city. And that's very important. So I will ask the mayor's office to put that on the agenda so that we get a full presentation at COW maybe in the spring about how that's going to roll out for
Okay.
summer.
Sounds
Great,
good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Larson.
I think all my questions have been answered.
All right, fantastic. You know, I want to thank you. I was concerned about what kind of questions would come up because you can be considered the keeper of a lot of secrets in your department.
Oh,
and
don't
probably
say.
can't answer all of them if they were, whatever they might have
I
been.
could
but-
tell you, but then I'd have to, you know.
Well,
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the levity there. Thank you. All right, so with that
Thank
said.
you, Mrs. Bond.
Pardon me?
Thank you, Mrs. Bond.
We will move on to the law department. At this juncture, it's our last but not least of the day.
Make sure we move along quickly here. You're Dana Wysocki, Corporation Counsel, and I think you've gotten, if not, the presentation is supposed to be passed out. And I apologize, Alderman Bug, about 20 minutes before you announced that you wanted to see the org charts. I had removed it from my presentation, but if you want, I can send it special to you. I thought it was going to be longer than 5 minutes, which is what I was told I had. So just very briefly, I have a thought. This is what I put instead of the org chart. I thought this would be more useful. I just wanted to kind of go through what services the law department provides. Real briefly, we do a number of different branches here. The administrative enforcement, which includes the prosecutorial services, that's your traffic and ordinance violations. We're actually at the branch court over adjacent to the police station. We also do handle the administrative hearings. The hearing officers are part of our budget, and the administrative costs for dealing with those, the overhead costs with those hearings also is part of our budget. That's for any sort of building code enforcement, property standards, traffic, parking and impound. All of those are for city ordinance violations. Your legal counsel, those line items are all your general law issues. So municipal law, property, contract, police and fire, and we've now added labor and employment. Also, risk management is a large part of what we do. We handle all claims and litigation. Litigation is handled by special counsel, by outside counsel, but supervised mainly by me and Deb Lang, one of our assistant corporation counsel, 3. And we also have a administrative aide in our office whose sole job is to process claims and to work with our third-party claims administrator, who is new this year. The claims administrators we got up and running in 2025. We also do a lot of risk mitigation stuff that comes in the forms of claims, but it also comes in the form of, for one, answering a lot of questions that people have and trying to make sure we mitigate circumstances as they arrive. But also we do a lot of, we are involved with a lot, making sure that, certain trainings are taking place and making sure that, especially on the police fire side, that they are getting the information they need so that we stop litigation before it becomes an issue. The 2025 highlights, I just grabbed a couple of things that I thought would be of interest. Obviously, I arrived, which is the most exciting thing for me this year. We also have first day today is Michelle Nerman's first day. She's here in the audience. You can wave, have you? We've brought on Another assistant corporation counsel 3 to handle labor and employment matters, which you all are aware of. We increased the use of administrative adjudications for a wider variety of ordinance violations. We finalized the implementation of legal files, which is how, I don't know if the aldermen use them, but I think all the other staff does. But it's how we get legal tickets, it's how we track them, it's how we manage our workload and our workflow in the office. It's been a bit of a learning curve for everyone, but it's now fully implemented and we are working with it. And then last, as I mentioned before, our third-party claims administrator, we've switched to CCMSI, and we now are working with them to manage our claims. For the 2026, I just wanted to point out 3 big goals that we're working towards. First of all, as part of retaining Michelle Nerman and also some other things with working with HR, I hope to, or my goal is to internalize all labor employment law unless there's a conflict. Obviously, there's going to be some circumstances that because of conflict we need to hire outside counsel. But right now we're transitioning because there's outstanding things that need to be finished up by outside counsel before we can move everything in. But my goal is in 2026 to move everything internal. I also am working on streamlining the administrative hearing procedures. Right now they're a little clunky. There's some old things going on, and we're trying to make new SOPs with the administrative procedures, make sure they work with property standards, make sure they work with the PD, and make sure that we are respecting everyone's due process rights, getting compliance in a timely manner, and making sure that property owners have what resources they need to comply with our code. Less draconian and more focused on compliance. Additionally, another focus for 2026 is more proactive risk mitigation. That comes from mainly from our partners with our third-party claims administrator, and also with our own insurance companies. So our insurers actually provide free training on various, like OSHA training and all sorts of things, all sorts of risk mitigation training that the city staff has not taken advantage of in the past, and that's something that we're working with Dr. Caputo and HR to make sure that we can bring that to our staff so that we have a more proactive risk mitigation strategy. A couple of major changes to the 2020 from the 2025 to the 2026 budget. You'll see that the salary line item has increased. That is due to me, Ms. Nerman, and some step increases. The benefits has also increased. Again, that's mainly me and Michelle Nerman because we're in-house full-time. Outside counsel, though, has decreased. I'll talk about that a little more on the next page. And then we've also, the other big item that we cut from our budget is meetings and seminars. We have kept our, just so you're aware, because I do think collaboration with lawyers is very important for us as professionals to be able to give you good legal advice. I think that is very important. But in the spirit of trying to make cuts where we could, we cut all like in-person seminars, so we're not traveling to go to seminars. We did keep all of our association, so we will still be members of the various bar associations that we regularly participate in. We'll still keep our ARDC licensing, of course, and be able to get our CLEs from the various associations. All of the lawyers in the department agreed that that was a fair compromise, that we can do the type of collaboration we like to do, and association we like to do with other lawyers to make sure that we're keeping abreast of the law, and that the icing on the cake can be trimmed a bit. Outside counsel costs, I just wanted to walk you through this because this has been a point of some discussion. So I did a quick chart just to kind of boil down some of these costs. Now, this does not include the administrative hearing costs, which I think is kind of its own animal, and some other categories that you'll see within the budget. But the big ticket items here, so the special counsel, the top line is the general special counsel. That's kind of anytime we have, that's most of where the outside counsel comes from. Now, I will note that's not litigation. Litigation comes from risk, the risk fund, and that's a different animal, so I don't want to deceive you about that line item. Special counsel, the human resources had a line item for special counsel. That's the second line item, and that line item has been split. So just under the one, I can't remember, I'm sorry, it's like 138 or something, has been moved to the law department's salary to cover the cost of bringing in a new assistant corporation counsel, and then the remainder of it, the 91.5, was transferred to the law department. And then the special counsel economic development, that has been high the last couple of years, but what was proposed for 2026 was 30,000. That also was moved to the law department so that all the legal costs are under one umbrella. We decremented the both of those line items at 155, a little more, and we come up with the final total for special counsel then is the 301,450. So, included in that, I'm doing some work to bring SSAs in-house. It's something that we used to do in-house that we outsource now. And I'm also hoping with the streamlining of the administrative hearings that's something, it should reduce costs. That's something we've all discussed. So that's the plan moving forward. And with that being said, I assume it's time for questions. I'm trying to make this as sweet and short as possible, so I hope I didn't cut anything really important out, but if so, do point it out.
Well, thank you for the presentation. You answered one of my questions here with the outside counsel costs. It seems approximately $250,000 in savings. But I do like to see that you also talked about your goals and streamlining administrative hearing procedures. One of the things you typically don't have and simply you have to deal with is also aldermen. And aldermen is its own pretty much challenge as well, like almost another, it's obviously definitely a department.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, it's been brought up at least by a couple of my colleagues, myself as well, and in order to streamline, if there's any thought put towards streamlining any aldermanic initiatives, legislation for initiatives in this budget. So you are seem like you're trying to streamline things, mm-hmm. and I see that you're trying to bring in, which I think I'm more inclined to see that we have a legal counsel that is full-time. I know we tried it with the previous legal counsel to be part-time, and I'm not sure how that worked 100%, or if it did work with him being part-time, because we tried it out because it supposedly worked in the past once upon a time. But with that said, and the more time being, the more hours being applied here in your department, how's that going to curtail with helping out the aldermen moving forward?
Well, I think that I think that just in the last couple of months that I've been here, I know that I have devoted a lot of time with various aldermen. I know that I've spoken to most of you at least once, if not several times in the last couple months. So I do know that we are to the extent that there are concerns about ward funds and how those are being handled. I know it's a little there's I don't.
Legislative initiatives. When we're looking for
okay,
that's exactly what I'm looking at.
We were looking at some just so you are aware. Internally, we were talking about some SOPs on how the lawyers would process those, so that we can make sure that process is consistent throughout, and we can make sure that we're getting it done in a timely manner. That's something that we're looking at internally. Legislative initiatives, I think, follow the same, it would probably follow the same routine. I think we're notified by the aldermanic aides when you have legislative initiatives. That's my understanding of the process, is that we're notified, it goes into legal files, we then assign it out to who, depending on the topic that, with our expertise, we assign it out to who has the expertise on it, and we go from there. I know that some of the hold up with the grant programs and stuff comes because there's a little more work involved in that, and that's something that we're trying to streamline, just to make sure that we're consistent across the board with it. Not just, and it's not, I don't want to pick on just some of the ward grant stuff, because it's a broader picture with some of the grant things that we have to make sure that we're consistent with the rules. So there's the SOPs that we're looking at would be broader than that, but it would streamline the process for the individual ward grants as well.
Because it would be hard for us on our end. Some aldermen have another full-time job as well.
I completely agree.
And they definitely rely on a certain level of streamlined expediency on the law department side. And unfortunately, then you have to stop and wait. And then an alderman once they get back to you, they can expect an immediate response right away. And I know you're not sitting around fiddling your thumbs, but as long as there's approach, maybe even an anticipated response time on the response to the response from the alderman and make requests, I think that's important. So, and I bring it up because you said about streamline. It's been something that I've talked to with a couple of my colleagues here at the city on the dais.
I understand. It's also, I mean, I think it's also important to understand that frequently a legal question it's not a simple yes or no. It just perhaps the answer that would be the most accurate one, but is not the most helpful to you, is, well, it depends. And you probably want a little more meat to the bone. And that does take a little time. Sometimes it just takes time for us to research and put meat on the bone so that you have a comprehensive answer, rather than it depends.
Well, thank you so much for that, and I appreciate for the outside counsel cost, because that was my question here in your line item in your legal outside attorney's number. So with that said, I will start with Alderman Barrero.
Hello.
Hello.
So my question is kind of, trying to triangulate between HR, risk management, and you guys. And that is, just passing along, maybe you're doing this already, but that, that hopefully there's some analysis being done of some of the claims that we're receiving, and what can we do to mitigate those. There's mention of training, but sometimes it's not just training. Sometimes it's addressing public infrastructure.
Yep.
Like sidewalks.
Yep.
And the policy of a 2-inch gap before it gets addressed.
Understood.
And I'm passing that along because, those are concerns that are out there, but it seems it's a hard thing to tell a resident, sorry, you got a gap there, but it's not.
It's under 2 inches.
It's
so that's
it's
de
under
minimis.
2 inches, and
I get that.
I'm just passing that along because
Yeah.
that's something that if we could do something to improve those situations, hopefully it improves potential liabilities as well.
Chairman, can I
Yes.
comment on it? Brian Caputo, Director of Operations Management. We are working right now, in fact, law and HR are involved in a project that's exploring a risk management information system to do essentially what Alderman Barrero is suggesting. We may even we're still looking at it. We've only had one look at it so far, but we may be able to use software that is already embedded in some of our platforms to do it, so it may not cost us any more money, but we need to spend more time on it after the budget process is finished and really understand what the system can do and whether we can integrate all of our third-party administrators, the information flowing in from them.
Okay. Alderman Carl Franco.
So we're laying off people in different departments. We're adding a new corporation counsel. We were under the impression, and certainly hope it still is, that this will save us money because of not going into outside counsel, the difference is gonna be there. As I look at these numbers, can you pull out from all these numbers, 'cause there's a lot of different numbers here, because you got combined, new, and assistant, and the whole thing, what that, within pretty close to what that difference is gonna mean for us going next year? Because people are gonna ask, we're adding the legal, but we're taking away from somewhere else, but we feel that what your presentation was earlier was that we're gonna benefit. So can you pull that out of here so we kind of get close to exact numbers?
So the line item that I was talking about at the meetings before is the special counsel HR,
Okay?
okay? And that's the 230, or the 229,300, right?
Okay.
That's what it's been for the last several years. It is, this year, it's, the year to date, that was, I don't know if that's, I don't know what the date is on that. That was from the last, and so I think that was, I don't know if that was the end of September or before that. But that line item is more than the salary of Michelle Nerman, who is 138. We'll just say 140 for sake of
Okay, that's
ease.
fine.
Okay?
Yep.
So what's left of that is the 91,500, or there's about.
I'm sorry, 91,500,
Mm-hmm.
that's the difference, okay. Yeah, because I want to make sure, because we're going to get questions on that. And
Yeah.
we knew that was the philosophical reason, because
Yeah.
you're going to add people, you're going to save money, then adding people is okay. And that's kind of,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we could explain that
Yeah,
to
and
people.
that's the like easiest calculation. There were some other outside counsel costs that I incorporated in it because when I was doing my calculations, because they were employment, but they were being pulled from different line items, because they're being pulled from the general special counsel, not HR, and they were being pulled from some other, but the simplest equation is simply the line item for special counsel HR is no more.
Okay.
It's no more. It's not in the HR budget.
Right.
It's not, it doesn't exist. So that's been eliminated.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay?
Alderman Larson.
Thank you. Yeah, I was looking through the bigger decrements in here. One of them that I'm seeing is for under the I think legal hearing officers DUI prosecutor.
Sorry, wait, let me get there.
It's on page 314.
Okay?
Was this, so is that like an outside cost?
Yeah,
An
the
outside
the
prosecutor?
DUI prosecutor is an outside cost, and actually, that, I didn't bring it up because it's not, it's actually going to be coming out of DUI funds. So it looks fancy for me, but it's going to be on the police budget for the DUI funds.
Okay.
So it's not, it's a wash for the city, so that's
Okay.
why I didn't put it on my chart.
That's what I was assuming.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
just
it's
coming
just
from
it,
somewhere
yeah.
else.
We're still going to be
Yeah.
pulling over people for driving under the influence.
That's good to know.
And making sure that our streets are safe.
Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Bug.
Thank you for the presentation. I don't have anything, but thank you.
And if you want, I can send you the org chart if that helps. Okay, there's not that many of those.
Okay, well,
Is that it?
anything else here, Ms. Peterson? Anything else from the committee? We seem to be making it within the allotted time slot to hear from each department scheduled for today, and to also get the overview in. And so, thank you to one and all. Without any question? No, all right, okay.
No, I just want it noted, though, for the record, that I've been here for the whole meeting since it didn't go on record. Alderwoman Smith has attended this meeting today.
All right, so, well, there we go. You had the honor of doing it yourself. There you go. So, when it's all said and done.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by
Second.
Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Ed Bug. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 5-0. The meeting's adjourned at 2:46. Thank you, one and all.